this is Shilpa Aduri. Today we are going to do a Gladiolus project. Simple, easy, and with few little stroke study with the flower and leaves, we can achieve this project. So let's start with some practice. Before starting on the practice sheet, so what I would like to start is doing some background on a not the canvas panel is what I'm using today. Might be 11 by 8 size or 10 size. And then we'll start with simple background. So you can see like little touch of different colors of the background. So for today, what I'm going to do for a change, I'm going to use a big pan. And I'm thinking here. Okay, I'm going to use this sponge, wet your sponge, and I was doing painting earlier, so I have some leftover colors, so it doesn't have to be exact paint from the background that I see. I'm going to go with purples, so I'm going to have a little change in the background of colors from here. I'm just picking up what is there in my palette. Okay. And I have one more palette on the side. I'm picking up all the colors that I have. And then trying my best to make use of the colors I have to make a nice lovely background here. So I pick some green, that's okay. We want some green as well. Okay, and then I'm picking some red. It's all the leftover paints that I'm using, as you can see. Nothing different from what I do. All the making use of all the leftover paints instead of wasting them, and then creating beautiful background out of it. Alright, I'm picking up all the red that I have, some blues I have with me. Because I'm doing on not a canvas, it's a hard palette that I'm doing here. So you can add a lot of pressure here, no issues, to get that shades that you're looking for. Picking up more, all the leftover here. So there are now no sides to this. That's one difference, just all over the canvas that you have to. And once that is done, we're making sure to blend in all the spaces that doesn't have some color. I'm just dabbing so the paint goes in, dabbing so the paint goes in, and then one last time going into not yet, some blue I'm picking. I'm just adding blue all over, and now I'm just picking some lighter shade here that I have. Okay, holding on to the side, and now I'm going end to end, not stopping in the middle, making sure I have a blend of the shade going from all the way from top to bottom. Don't stop in the middle, just go all the way up and down, up and down, up and down. repeat. I'm going to repeat the same, and I'm going to pick up more of that color. This is lighter wicker white that I'm picking to lighten the shade that I have. Going from top to bottom, not stopping, top to bottom, trying our best not to stop. So you can see I'm going a little back so you can see the whole canvas here. I'm trying my best not to stop in the middle, end to end, end to end, end to end. Oops, my hand is slippery here. So your background is ready. Alright, let's keep it here, making sure you have it all. Okay, you're good there. You're all set with that. So you're done with that. So the next step would be just keeping this aside. Now that we're done with the project, I'm just dropping this into the water so that it doesn't get spoiled while I'm working on other stuff, right? And let me just clean up my mess quickly. Make sure you're taking care of it right away so that you'll not end up to spend more time later. So I'm done with that. Right. So I'm going to do our stroke study first, and going back to our book. This was our last one, and today we're going to do the flowers. So we are going to go with 3 petals to start with, and in between each petal we'll add 3 more petals. Okay, that's the main flower. And then for the bud we're going to go with 3 small petals, 1 on the back, 2 covering the back one, and little over on the direction wise. We'll start with the stroke study first, and then we'll jump onto the project. Okay, so I have some blue on my side, so I'm going to use a smaller brush because we want to learn with smaller brushes as well on the small book that I have. Right, I'm pulling all the paint that I have on the palette, on the other palette. This is just for our practice. Okay, I have blue completely loaded, right? So now I'm going to go into my white. The different ways that we can do this is one way. I want the lighter color to also show little, so that's why I just picked up. So it's going to be light blue with dark blue. I'm just picking white on one side, and we want some floating medium to flow easily. It's just no color to it, it's just the pigment no pigmentation, no color to it, just a acrylic plain color. Okay, so now we're going to jump in to the stroke study. Okay, so for this flower, so let's just check this color combination that we have. Okay, so let's dark blue and light, and then now let's jump into the practice of our, so that's a V, and this is the angle that we are trying to do. Okay, so add that arrow to help. I'll leave that arrow for you, and here I'm just going and loading every time, and then use this as your reference, right? And then starting from here, light pressure, curving towards upward and standing 90 degrees straight by the time you reach on the top. Okay, so that is your first half. I'll leave that first half also for you, and then here I'm going to do the complete stroke. So let's say that is your stroke, right? You're starting from here, curve, and then stand up by the time you reach on the top. So we did that part, right? And the second part is from the top, you're curving downward and then standing up by the time you reach the bottom. I'm going to repeat one more time. In one stroke, just going up, coming down. That's what we are doing. Okay, so let me do one more time. And touch, pressure, stand up, pressure, bristles down and bristles up, stand up. Okay, that's one petal that we are seeing there. So now the same we are going to do 3 petals, right? So one on the top, here we are going to do the complete flower. So let's say this is one petal that we have, and because we are going to go in between, we are going to have some petals in this way. Oops. So if you maybe you didn't notice, I went on the wrong way, mixed up both colors. So if that happens, don't worry, just take out the outer part. Okay, you don't need to wash and do all that. Just pick up the right colors again, and then if you think you can fix that area, you can try that. If not, you go to the new spot. Okay, now I think I can do that, so I just went into the same spot, loaded my brush, touch of floating medium. Now your colors are intact again. Okay, and then the third one is going to be in between those two. Okay, so one going up, what we learned in our strokes, and then coming down, right? And then again the second one, touch, pressure, curving up, pressure, curving down. And if you're not comfortable in all direction, you can always go turn your book around or canvas around and try that. But I suggest you to try doing it in all direction, because when you're doing a big canvas, you're practicing all the strokes, so because it's really hard to turn your big canvases around, right? And now this one went little bigger in size. That's okay. You can always trace your strokes if you want. Okay, so now you did all the 3. Let me increase this size also little bit to keep it consistent. Okay, so now in between those two, you can see, I was trying to get the big sheet that I had. Okay, here. So in between these 3, you're doing 4, 5, 6 strokes. Okay, so you can see 4, 5, 6. Okay. So I'm going down and loading my brush the same way, and in between those two you can see you are doing this, covering little bit of the previous one. Right, and then second one overlapping the previous one, again overlapping previous one. So you cover with 6 petals total, 3 behind, 3 in between the 3 ones that you did. Okay, and we'll do the center part, but now let me show the flower bud. Okay, so if you're doing the flower bud, you're just doing your first petal on the back. Okay, and then in front of that petal you're covering, if you see I'm not covering the whole petal, I'm just leaving little bit of on the behind, and then you're covering on the other side. So this way you're showing as if, and if, sorry, let's just pick up, it's going on the behind. Okay, and also you can do one more approach where you can see here 3 petals and 1 petal covering all 3, right? So let's just do that way. You have one, and also try to make these smaller because they're still small in size, not opening completely yet, right? And you have 3 petals and 1 covering all 3, but it is smaller and just angled little bit. Okay, so the front one, to show you again, all you're doing is just giving little curve and trying your best to reduce the size of the behind one right in front of it. Okay, so it is covering, not covering the whole flower. Okay, so now let's go into the leaves. We did a couple of projects with the leaves, so I'm just picking green from the side, and I just loaded little green and then white, touch of floating medium, because we are trying to do long slender leaves. It is simple. So all you're doing is, for this long stem, going straight up 90 degrees, and then each direction you're just, if you want your long slender leaf to be smaller, you're starting little and then pressure little and then standing up. If you want more smaller, you're just giving light pressure. Okay, and if you want a big one, you are going to put lot of pressure. That will give you a big slender leaf. Okay, wider when I say big. And if you want really small, you're just giving light pressure, and then the quickly you're lifting if you want the size also to be smaller. Okay, and more smaller, quickly you're lifting. More smaller, quickly you're lifting. Okay, so if you want really, let's say, big one, pressure, see all my bristles are down, slowly I'm lifting 90 degrees straight to get that tipped edge that you're looking for. Okay, so now we are done practicing with the stroke study. Okay, I forgot to do one more thing. So with the script liner, you are going into, let's say, I have some paint here, wet it, make it inky consistency. So So if you see the center lines here, all you're doing is adding those in different direction and everything is pointing to the center. So you have one going here, one going here, going and picking up. Okay, so you have your lines on, right? So now you're going into the yellow that you have. Wash your nicely and then picking up just the yellow, and then you have this. Oops, I have water in my yellow, sorry. Let me take out. Take out excess water, don't forget to do that. You'll end up getting a lot of water if not. And then this is just a touch and then touch, then pull, touch, then pull. So those are the little details that you're going to add. And then you can add with the light white dot later. Okay. So we're going to got blurry for some reason. Hope it's all good now. Okay, adjust it. Okay. So I'm just keeping this in the water. So we are going to go with 3/4 flat and sap green. I'm going to pour green on top of the blue that I have, so that I have a touch of that color as well, and some yellow. That's enough. Touch of yellow is what I'm going to use. And first we are going to do these stems. Okay. And I want to make it on the right so we can put some message on the left. So I'm trying my best not to cover it all. Touch yellow, loading my brush, touch of white, lighten my colors, touch of floating medium, touch of floating medium. Alright, so now as I said, I'm going to do it more curving this side. Okay, so I'm keeping it straight and curving on that left side. Alright, and then I'm going to touch and then pressure, stand up. Again one more time. Okay, that's my first one, and then I'm going to start. Okay, make sure, because you are trying to do long leaves, make sure you're going and picking up your paints every time, because you're losing your paint as part of a bigger strokes. And I loaded it well. Now I'm good, and I'm trying to hold my brush far so you can see better. So if I'm curving starting from here, and then I'm pressure, then stand up. That's my second one. And as I go up, what I'm going to try to do is reduce the size of my leaves. So now smaller. I quickly picked it up, that's all. And smaller. Right? Again one more. and I'm pulling from this long smaller, again smaller. Oops, sorry, I picked a lot of white here. One quick approach is, if it is fresh, you can take a clean one. You have to learn from the mistakes as well. And then I can pull the paint off this way. And those are okay, sorry. I'm pulling out. I'm good. Leave it there. Flowers will come there, so you don't have to worry too much. And I'm just going in, loading my brush so that it's more intact again, and then I can always go back. Stuff a little bit there, so let me correct that. So I can completely take it off if I want, and then restroke on top. Okay, I'm going to restroke there. So increase size there, which I don't want, but it happened. That's okay. And reduce and reduce. Okay, so we are done with doing the leaves that we are looking for, and half of this flower will be covered, so you don't have to worry. So we are going to do tricks of how to do those as well. Okay, leave that. I'm overdoing at this point, so I'm just going back, stopping there, and going with the colors of my choice here. So purple, and then pure white. So I'm going to have more purple, less on the white side. So when I pick up, I'm going to use, actually I'm going to use an angle brush today. Okay, this is a good one to go with 5x8 angle. Either flat or angle, both should work well. So I'm just picking up and then white. We'll try our best to keep the okay. So the first one is going to be a big flower, right? And it will be covering most of the this area. And then on top of it there is one more, but it will cover the first flower also. That's how we want to do it. So I'll do the second one first to compensate to that. And I'm just giving little wave also to my flower. And then we saw that we are going to do 3 angled ones, right? First. So we are focusing on the 3 flowers. 3 flower petals first, 3 petals first. And as you can see, I'm picking up my color from the leaf. You can either restroke to cover slightly so that that's covered, and then the second stroke is going to be on top. As always, one more time, we're going to go in between. Always better to dry it off and then go on do this step, so that you don't have to worry about going lighter, darker, pressureless, all that. It won't pick up paint for you. I still have to do a couple of tries because it is still wet. To avoid that, you can always go do it in one turn. Okay, so now I'm going and picking up for the second flower, where the first one is going to be overlapped. Here is going to be the second one. And then you have your three first ones. I'm going in between, and then in between. So we did the two parts, first flowers, second flowers, and then slowly, gradually we are jumping into the bud parts, buds of these flowers, right? So here I'm going to have one bud going here. So first one is going to be a little smaller, but at the same time I'm going to then overlapping one goes on top. Okay, now I'm going to go one more here. It's too much of white, I'm just taking off extra. Then going and jumping into doing one more. But at the same time you want to make sure you have your white intact. Alright. Now it is more unopened bud that you're trying to do, so just curving the second one little. Okay, and one more. This one is going to be much smaller than the last one. That's it. So we have the flowers in place, right? So now what we're going to, I'm just going to fix a little bit. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, just wash it off and then go with the darker purple, dioxin purple. Just add some depth actually in the center where the flower is going to go. Just little depth in the center. That's it. And now we are going to do, now we are going to add the little details we had in the project using this script liner. I'm going to pull up some white. I mixed up a little bit of green, sap green, and then some white and some water to make it inky, so I can flow easily on the strokes that I'm doing. And some purple from this purple also. I'm going to try it here first. If I'm not getting thin lines, I'm going to make it more inky. Circle, 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 and then try it here. Make sure that you're not getting excess water, and then try pulling your strokes. You can go more thin. I'm picking up white to lighten more because it's not visible at all with the colors that I picked. Okay, so maybe we can do the same here. Reduce to more whitish shade. Okay, and little okay, that's good. And now we're going into the yellow. Just a smaller brush is also good that we picked before. And all we are doing is just loading the brush completely flat and then just doing this line. Okay, touch. Okay, we just added a little bit of petals there, and now we're going into the green again, because if you can see we did not do the leaves that surround these petals, right? So I'm just picking the smallest brush that I have. Okay, one more, just covering. Okay, for a change we decided to, okay, before that I want to make sure this is not like standing and nowhere. I'm just pulling it down, then adding a little bit of lighter shade to that. So those darker lighter shades are here now, and then let's do some message there. So to add those little details, I want to add a little bit of just picking up color. This is more lighter as I go up. Oops, I just picked the green color, which I don't want to do, but it happened, that's okay. this little combination of colors going around. Going up. I'm just going in circles, adding this little depth of to my background. I always suggest to dry your painting before you, so that you don't have to get to the issues that you're seeing from my canvas here. And I want to go more lighter on top, so I'm just picking up white and yellow here, just going with that. I'm picking up from the paint, if you can see. You don't want to get there. And now at last I'm going to go get my brush, and as always, not my brush in the sense, painting brush that I use for painting, wetting it, picking up just the white, wetting it, so I always mess up my background when I'm doing this. I'm just going to add a white sheet on the bottom so that I'm not going to mess up my table here when I'm doing that. So all I'm doing is just pulling it from the pile of brush on color that's in this brush. So just picking up, before coming here, just try it here once, so that if there is too much of paint, it will be gone. You're left with just the paint that you need. Doing it there. So now I'm going to go into blue color. Let's see. Yeah, I am getting it. Forget my phone. Alright, so we are done with that, and then instead of doing anything more to this project, I want to keep it simple. And maybe, okay, what do we do with these little extras that we receive, right? We have there. I'm just going to pick up some paint, and then I'm just going to say as if those are little what's better forming there. Or you can just make it into detail leaf. You want to add more depth, you can still add now to your leaf. Then on the bottom I want to make sure I have this darker shade going there. Need a bigger brush. Take out excess water. Alright, I think I'm happy with the project. I'm going to stop here. If not, I'll keep adding more details. So let's just finish here. I'm looking for my script liner again. Yeah, and then sign your project. I'm going to go with the lighter shade with the inky consistency that I have. Right. Alright, hope you enjoyed the class. Simple, as I said, few strokes only that we're going to do in this project. Initially I was thinking of doing some message here, but I wanted to keep it simple and then left it to it. And maybe in future I might add, but I'll leave it to this for now. Hope you enjoyed the class. See you next week. Let me just pull it up so you can see the whole project in place, and also our stroke study that we did. Stroke study, reference project, and the complete project. Alright, see you next week. Thank you. Bye now.